Hello and welcome back. And today we're going to talk about step 2 of deliberately incorporating AI into our classes. Because once the AI responds, the most dangerous moment in the process just quietly arrives. Not because the answer is necessarily wrong, and not because the tool is malicious, but because the response sounds finished. It arrives polished, confident, and structurally complete. We humans have a deep cognitive bias toward fluency. When something sounds right and smooth, we tend to assume it's correct. When something feels resolved, we feel permission to stop thinking, or at least many times. Now, this is a habit that we must interrupt. We have to break it, in ourselves even, and our students. If step 1 protects the student's voice before they prompt, step 2 protects the student's judgment after that response actually arrives. Students shouldn't be trained to ask, can I submit this? They should be taught to ask, what is this claiming? What assumptions are being made? What feels weak, generic, or oversimplified? What would I change if it were my own draft, right? This isn't really adversarial. It's really just mental discipline. Interrogation turns AI from an answer machine into more of a conversational object or machine. Something to think with, not something to just think through. It creates a posture of dialogue rather than deference. So in practice, this can be relatively simple. After an AI response appears and comes back, pause the class, pause the session, pause yourself, and require a short written reaction before anything is even edited. Ask students what surprised them, what seems a little off or vague, what would they keep, and what would they throw away or discard, and even what would they improve. Now, these questions shift the student from a consumer to an actual editor. From just receiving the information to evaluating it and thinking it through. And that shift really matters more than any one particular assignment. Just like the others, evaluation is a muscle. And if it's not exercised, it will weaken over and continually again and again. When students routinely accept the first pass outputs, something subtle begins to happen. That inner quality bar, it kind of drifts downward, goes away. And the tolerance for shallow explanation increases day by day. Their ability to detect weak logic just goes away and erodes, not overnight, and not maybe dramatically at first, but quietly, one piece at a time. Now, interrogation and questioning, it can reverse this drift that we can find ourselves on. When students are taught to push back on AI, they start pushing back on everything else too. Articles, videos, claims, headlines, posts, even their own drafts, and that's what we want. They begin to notice patterns. AI leans toward safe language. It avoids strong commitments, and it favors very symmetrical and regular structures, as we all know from reading it, right? It often masks uncertainty with a confident tone, which can be dangerous. Once students see this, fluency stopped being confused with truth. Confidence stopped being confused with truth. Now, this step also reframes what using AI well actually means. Good use is not speed, it's not volume. A good use is not producing something that looks finished, it's making better decisions. That's good use in AI. Questioning, interrogating, decision-making. It's practice for what we are trying to do in the first place. We're not preparing students to become prompt engineers only, although it is good to write a good prompt. But what we're preparing them for is to become thinkers who happen to have and know how to use very powerful tools like these AI that we find ourselves with. There's a deeper philosophical reason this step really matters. Authority has shifted in this digital age that we find ourselves in today. And for many students, The first encounter, an explanation is some algorithmic system. If we don't teach them how to question that authority, they'll internalize a dangerous assumption that intelligence lives somewhere else, not in them. Step 2 teaches the opposite. Intelligence lives in the act of actually questioning these systems and their outputs. The machine can generate text and those outputs, but only a student can judge. Now, if step 1 protects that authorship, step 2 protects epistemology. Together, they draw the first line between assistance and really ultimate surrender. And that line, it's worth defending. Well worth defending. Now, I have a much more detailed version up on the stack as always. I'll see you for the next step soon. Bye-bye.